Hello there, Commonwealth Realm here, ranking all the bosses in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And keep in mind that we are ranking every boss with a title above their health bar, found in what can be considered as dungeons in the game, so Divine Beast, the Yiga Clan Hideout and Hyrule Castle. But if this video gets enough likes, say 3,500 plus for 35 years of Zelda, then we might do a video on overworld bosses, as there are quite a lot of them, and subscribe if you haven't already with bells on. Number 8. We begin with the final battle, which is likely the most disappointing final boss in the entire series, and definitely among the 3D Zelda games, Dark Beast Ganon. The first time I was introduced to this supposed pure incarnation of evil, I was thinking, holy beep, they did it. They did it. They gave us the Shadow of the Colossus boss battle that they have teased us with since they had to cut it from the final battle against Ganon in Ocarina of Time. But then you see the Bow of Light being handed down in front of your horse and realize that, wait, we're not climbing this thing, we're targeting it from a distance. But still I thought to myself, this thing has a health bar, so perhaps it will still be a legendary fight. But nope. Target practice, which can only turn around 360 degrees but not charge you, and which can only threaten you by very slowly charging up its beam. But if you have any experience with horseback archery, then it is impossible to fail this battle, as the Bow of Light with its light arrows hit the glowing weak points if you target them, rinse repeat, and then hit that giant malice eye from your horse or mid-air. The end. A fight that could have been so much more, but was just completely wasted and turned into a complete and utter joke and embarrassment to the Legend of Zelda franchise. Dark Beast Ganon may look menacing, but isn't in the slightest, and is the by far worst boss in Breath of the Wild. Number 7. FIREBLIGHT Ganon. The best way to describe the scourge of Divine Beast Varudanya is that bombs are mightier than the sword. A very simple boss fight where you first target the eye with an arrow, see it drop, and then seal damage with your weapon of choice. Rinse repeat, avoid his fire attack until you cut off half of its health and make him so angry that he finally begins protecting himself with a barrier. With this barrier he sucks, and he literally sucks in, which makes him super vulnerable to a Sheikah bomb rune thrown straight at him. Blow it in its face and unleash your sword to deal damage. The only menacing part about this boss is the environment you fight it in, waiting too long for it to unleash its fireballs and not upgrading your Flamebreaker set yet. Or you just use elixirs. As mentioned, these fights can be more difficult depending on the levels that you have prepared for, but if you know that you are about to enter a dungeon, then you know what you're going to need. Still, despite its shortcomings, FIREBLIGHT Ganon is a fight which you can lose, especially if you wait for it to attack, bring out wooden weapons or bomb arrows in the middle of this heat. Then you might end up just like the mighty Daruk 100 years ago. We guess he had no Sheikah bombs or arrows to defeat this sucker. Number 6. Master KOHGA. The deliberate joke, but with plenty of character. It also helps that all our expectations of a difficult fight faded away the moment we were introduced to this character. So you're a phony who has never faced a real threat and thinks he can defeat us with his bulges. Much like the fight with FIREBLIGHT. If you know how to use a bow and have arrows, when you enter the Yiga Clan Hideout and the first Sheikah rune Magnesis, then you can defeat the gatekeeper to the Thunderhelm on the path to Divine Beast Varnaboris pretty easily. But I must give him credit for having an amazing personality and lines, which are sadly not voiced like they were by his amazing voice actor in Age of Calamity.
The stupendous chief of the Yiga Clan, Master KOHGA, is gonna kill you all to death!
Still, just like in that game, his overconfidence turns into his doom, who, let's admit, has the funniest fall by his own trap, which as previously mentioned would have been even funnier if it was voiced. A simple but charming boss fight which leaves us with a laugh as the master of the Yiga ends up like the Persians in 300. Number 5. WATERBLIGHT Ganon. Now we're getting more serious, as when you face this boss, you definitely don't have Mipha's grace, and the reach of WATERBLIGHT's spear is no joke. Avoiding it is key to surviving the first phase of this fight, while hoping that your likely still low level weapons don't break. Coming with fresh weapons and especially spears with long range is the best strategy for this entire fight. Luckily, you can use the Coriolis rune to defend yourself, and also approach the Blight of Varuta since the floor is covered by water. This fight can be a real challenge if you don't come prepared, and don't know how to activate a perfect dodge. Though just like in the case of the other Blights, its eye is the weak point. That goes for both phase 1 and 2. So saving arrows is crucial, as without them you have to trust your Sheikah runes, or more specifically Cryonis and Stasis. Then defend yourself from its final attack, its Guardian Beam, and boom, that is it for WATERBLIGHT Ganon. A menacing likely first boss for most in the game, but with an excellent reward. One final meeting with the spirit of Princess Mipha and receiving her grace, which will save you more than once through the rest of the game. Number 4. WINDBLIGHT Ganon. Take all we said about WATERBLIGHT Ganon, but now in the air and with stamina being a crucial key to the puzzle. This fight can be everything from super easy with arrows, and in particular bomb arrows, to scary as all hell, as WINDBLIGHT is a modern boss wielding a beam gun, missiles, and even global warming tornadoes. Though I really wonder how Revali lost with his bomb arrows. I guess he was just too cocky, and because of that WINDBLIGHT has the power of wind on his side. For us though, bomb arrows against this boss makes this fight easy, so if you want a real challenge, face WINDBLIGHT Ganon early without those. Then why is the fight above 2 of the other Blights? The setting we fight in. High above the ground in the sky, where in the second phase of the fight we use this space to run, fly and attack. Spacious venue with much maneuverability, making it one of the most memorable fights in the entire game. Coming here overpowered, and then in particular with arrows, makes this fight less interesting, hence why it didn't make the podium of the base game. Where we find number 3, Calamity Ganon. Talk about the contrast to Dark Beast Ganon, menacing, deadly and strong. Calamity Ganon may be another beefed up version of the Blights, so the surprise value isn't really there, but presentation, setting and gameplay wise, absolutely. The build up to this fight is absolutely flawless. Fighting or swimming your way up to the top of Hyrule Castle and hearing Zelda in the Sanctum as she finally, after 100 years, drops her grip on the scourge of Hyrule Castle. The music starts, the floor collapses, we fall into a different, much bigger arena in the Astral Observatory, and you know that you're in for an incredible battle for the history books. And then, the spirit of the champions, which you fought so hard to free and have been aiding you with their powers across Hyrule, unleash the true potential of the Divine Beast's combined beam, snapping away half of Ganon's health. That is what you call majestic, even before the fight begins. Though what drags Calamity Ganon a little bit down is that this is just another Blight, only beefed up. Since Calamity Ganon has all the other Blight's weapons at disposal, but has one big disadvantage, its size. Though it compensates for this weakness with a plethora of attacks. Come unprepared or struggle to avoid these by having low stamina or failing to flurry rush, and you are going to have a really bad time against the elements of fire, wind, ice and destructive beams. Though you also have your tools to counter, at least in the first phase of the battle. The power of the champions, your arsenal of weapons and your trusty shields with a perfect dodge, which becomes crucial in the second phase of this battle if you've used up Urbosa's fury. Otherwise, you can take Calamity Ganon down with this power and the Stasis rune. Overall a great fight, but which can be much more dangerous, which brings us to number 2. All Blights in Hyrule Castle Sanctum united and full health Calamity Ganon. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the no doubt most brutal boss fight in Breath of the Wild, facing all 4 Blights in a row and then Calamity Ganon at its prime, which may I add is a secret boss ensemble which you can only face by ignoring the 4 divine beasts and heading straight for the beast's lair. And your punishment, or reward, battle in Hyrule Castle Sanctum, where Link was appointed as champion of the Hylians 100 years ago. Clear the Blights and then Calamity Ganon awaits, get him to half health, and it's pretty much the same fight as the previous entry. But by then you're probably pretty beat up, then why not in the number 1 spot? Simple, this isn't one boss fight, but 5 fights crammed into one. And since we separate Calamity Ganon and Dark Beast Ganon, and in that case the later would heavily drag down the former, we will also not give the top spot to a boss compilation fight, but to number 1. THUNDERBLIGHT Ganon.
I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am. I'm fast as fuck, boy.
True, he might be too fast for you, but oh my god, is this a well-made boss fight. Found in the obviously most challenging divine beast, Vana Boris, the Blight that took down Garuda Chief Urbosa, and is a true challenge that will completely surprise you no matter when you face this opponent. And you know that Nintendo deliberately made this the final base game dungeon challenge prior to heading for Hyrule Castle and Calamity Ganon. The first phase of this fight is all about dodging charges and hope for a flurry rush, which will help us break its shield. Yes, finally an opponent with the two basic tools that Link is renowned for, a sword and a shield. And this makes the first phase feel like a true sword and shield based duel. The second phase is simpler as you take advantage of Magnesis to send a pole launched by THUNDERBLIGHT to electrocute it with its own attack, and then send it to the ground and force him to once again duel with you. Just like in the case of the other Blights, not finishing it off completely at low health will result in its desperate Guardian Beam attack. Combine the confined, narrow and uneven floor of Vana Boris, the element of thunder and lightning speed for deadly charges makes Vana Boris boss the most satisfying in the base game. And with Urbosa's powerful fury granted after its fall, you get your badge THUNDERBLIGHT. Though you would definitely not have gotten it if Monk Master KOHGA was not paid DLC, since that boss is easily the best fight so far in the Breath of the Wild saga, with his speed, multiplication powers, banana weakness, powerful strikes, beam attacks and titan size. Monk Master KOHGA easily destroys all of the entries on this list with the Sheikah Monk twist, the arena in the sky and the entire fight, which is the ultimate test of what you've learned throughout Breath of the Wild, the trial of the sword and the Champion's Ballad. And there you have it, our ranking of every dungeon boss found in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, plus one DLC at the very end when Monk Master KOHGA reigns supreme. But since this is the first episode of a new and hopefully successful series, I hope you can leave a like and share the video to show that you want more. Subscribe by pressing that red button and press that notification bell and again for all notifications to not miss any upcoming videos. Oh, and tell me what is your ranking of Breath of the Wild's bosses in the comment section down below. Finally, this video would not have been possible without our patreon.com/commonrealm patrons, and in particular our royal producer Charles Shash. You are the best, and to all of you watching, please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.